Funding for This Is Nashville comes from you, our listeners, and Music City Prep Clinic, Nashville-based provider for PrEP and offering comprehensive sexual health services in an environment designed to be safe, professional, and shame-free. Learn more at musiccityprep.org.
Before we get started, I just want to give some thanks to Nashville Scene for naming In My Place the top news podcast in their 2025 Best of Nashville. Thank you, thank you. And I'm Tasha A.F. Lemley, and I'm the managing editor of This Is Nashville and host of this special series, In My Place, where this season we've been breaking down the steps from homelessness to housing and beyond. This year at Nashville Public Radio, you've gotten to come with me to homeless campsites and both sides of execution vigils, parking lots, and a long visit at a halfway house. If you like my work and value the stories of the folks in your ears, toss a coin to your station, O Valley of Plenty, WPLN.org. In any case, thank you for being here and keep coming with me. I'm Tasha A.F. Lemley, and this is Nashville. Welcome back to In My Place, a series about finding and losing home in a growing Nashville. This season, we're getting to walk through the specific steps from homelessness to housing and what often happens next with the people who have done it. This series was created thanks in part to support from the Community Foundation of Middle Tennessee. In our last 8 episodes, we've talked about everything from connecting with services for the very first time to celebrating an apartment. But for many folks, it doesn't stop there, so neither did we. Last month, we spent time trying to understand why having a place, even though it's great, is hard. And now, we're talking with people about what it's like to go from homelessness to housing and then becoming unhoused again. It's not all that uncommon. Jamie Villegas was a guest on our very first episode of In My Place back in February of last year. She's a kind, techie, and brilliant trans woman who, after experiencing a period of homelessness, has served on multiple committees and boards, hoping to help other folks with her expertise. And then 3 months ago, she lost her place to live again. I went down to Antioch to visit her in her pay-by-the-week motel. And side note, it took me about 45 minutes to get there driving from downtown. Y'all, I still think I can get anywhere from anywhere in Nashville in 15 minutes, but not anymore. Keep that in mind when thinking about the challenges of finding help while experiencing homelessness. Okay, here's my conversation with Jamie Villegas. Jamie, you reached out to me because you know there's a story to be told about people who have once experienced homelessness, have gotten housing or been housed again, and then now are homeless once again. And everything that means for someone who is experiencing multiple times or periods of homelessness. So tell me, where are we right now?
So right now we're at the room that I've got for now. And this is not the first hotel room that I've had. Since being evicted from Hadley Park in July. I've been all over the county, just hopping around hotels as I could afford them, utilizing my rewards points and the goodwill of friends and family to just to make ends meet. But when I was paying for rooms daily, I would wake up and it's like, oh no, I don't have the room yet. Doing what I did once again, hitting everybody up I know, asking for a few dollars here, a few dollars there, just in the hope that I could make it to have the room again for the night. I did luck out with with a couple organizations helping me out, particularly Trans Aid Nashville. It's a mutual aid organization. They helped me pay for this room. That way I could kind of start focusing again on housing, which it's a lot different than when I was in the camp. All the resources came to us.
Yeah.
And now I'm finding that I'm really having to be my own advocate.
Because you're out here in Antioch by yourself.
Correct.
In a room where an outreach worker is not going to find you.
Never, no.
How long have you been in this room?
I've been in this room about 3 weeks.
When does your room run out?
It actually runs out at 5 p.m. today.
What are you thinking is going to happen?
It's going to be down to the wire, as always, I'm pretty sure. I'm persistent. I've never given up. Not having the room is not an answer for me. So I'm once we're done, I'm going to keep, dialing away and And I'm pretty sure I've got some people who said they were going to help me. It's a matter of whether they get there in time.
So you said you got evicted from Hadley Park. Tell us what that means.
For right now, like I can't move into another public housing because now I've been evicted from public housing.
Ever? You can't ever move in?
Until I pay back what was owed to Hadley Park. I barely have the money to survive now, much less pay back that debt and an eviction from 6 years ago.
What happened in July that got you evicted?
It really also stems back from when I experienced a sexual assault at Hadley Park. And afterwards, for a while, I actually kind of abandoned the apartment. I stayed in places I knew were safe. But eventually, I went back. But I was already several months behind on rent because I hadn't been paying it.
So you asked for a unit transfer, so maybe you'd have a little bit more privacy, anonymity, at least for a minute.
Correct. And they said they would do it on one condition, and that was that if I could pass a housekeeping inspection of my current apartment,
which had been broken into, which
had been ransacked. And if anybody knows me, even on my best days, it's hard for me to pass a housekeeping inspection just for the mere fact that I have a hard time keeping up with myself. It's just, I collect a lot of things. I have at least I had a lot of things. And it's just hard for me to, keep it, in a tidy manner.
Yeah. And so they evicted you.
They, had the sheriff come out, he came by 3 different times, for very short periods of time, and then eventually posted the notice on the door. I went to court to challenge it, because on the grounds that I hadn't been properly served.
Yeah.
The judge summarily dismissed it and ruled in favor of MDHA.
Did MDHA offer you any resources evicting you?
So they, at the time of the day of the court, they have that program where they could have, they can give you a little bit more time to pay.
Yeah.
But because I was challenging the eviction, I was not qualified or eligible for those resources. At least nobody told me I would be. Because I went up in court, had to continuance for the motion, etc. They didn't actually move forward with the actual eviction until July.
Okay.
That's what, 3 some odd months.
Yeah.
Between the court, the right where they had the right to kick me out.
Yeah. And
then actually kicking me out.
Okay.
And in the meantime, I didn't know exactly what was going on. I started packing because I figured I was going to have to leave soon.
Yeah.
But after like a month and a half, I was like, well, I guess maybe they can't kick me out. I don't know. I didn't know, and I didn't really want to approach the office.
Right.
Because you don't want to upset the balance there.
Yeah. You may be told get out today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to have the sheriff showing up at my door, throwing me out. And so that kind of went on. I didn't hear from the office, and then I went to Washington, D.C.
Okay.
To the National Alliance to End Homelessness's annual conference.
Yeah.
As a representative of the HPC. And
HPC being the Homeless Planning Council?
Yes. About my final year of my 3-year term. So I went to Washington, and I had a great time at the conference, learned a lot. Mm-hmm. But by the time I got back, I arrived in Nashville 7 some odd in the morning. I take the bus from B&A out to Hadley Park. And I noticed there's a bunch of stuff out in the yard, in the backyard, and it's that time of the month, where evictions normally happen. I didn't think anything of it, and so I get into Hadley Park, and I get up the elevator to my 7th floor apartment, and I realized that there's a notice on the door, and I put my key in the lock, and it doesn't open. Apparently they had thrown me out the day before, and I had no earthly clue about it.
Oh my gosh.
MDHA did not contact me. My caseworker.
As far as you know, you had not received a date in the mail or anything like that.
Correct, because all of these notices had been sent while I was in Washington.
Okay.
So I was talking with a friend who had keys to an apartment that had been, cleared out but hadn't been rented out yet. So he offered me to offered to let me use the apartment for a little bit while until until I find something better. That didn't go too well. It just apparently his roommate didn't approve of what he was doing and kind of just told me I needed to find somewhere else. And that's where the hotel stays kind of started.
Okay.
It's back to like one of the first time I was homeless, calling people every day, being persistent, just not just calling and trying to get people to help me with the room. And after a certain while, you start to exhaust people.
Yeah.
And people stop answering your calls and tell you to bug off, and I understand that. It's you don't want to have to tell somebody you like or know or love no, I can't help you. I've helped you as much as I can.
So you understand that people are turning you down at this point.
Yeah.
But you're someone who strikes me as, you're young, you're beautiful, you're well-loved, you are well-connected. So you're in this place where so many people who are unhoused aren't. They don't have the assets that you have. And even when you have so many connections, you're still finding this incredibly difficult to find your next step.
Correct. So like after I got evicted, I called the Mary Parish Center because of the the incident that happened previously. Since this was related to it, I called to have be placed on the coordinated entry list.
Yeah.
And I got asked the questionnaire, and then my name went into the list. I have not heard back from Mary Parish Center. That was in June. I've had my caseworker from Nashville Cares helping me. But because of everything going on and me trying to keep up with myself, I haven't been able to. My Ryan White has actually expired because of the fact I can't sit down long enough to, do the re-enrollment with my caseworker.
And so, what is that? I know who he is, but what is that?
So it's a program that for low-income persons living with HIV/AIDS.
Okay.
And I actually sit on the Nashville Regional HIV Planning Council that administers the program. That's kind of where it's held up. And that's held up a few resources that I wouldn't really need, like my bus pass, food assistance, and then, of course, housing assistance.
We got a bunch of carts and horses.
Yes. I got to have this in order to do this, that, and that. I somehow, because of an incident and everything that snowballed from it, that now I'm back where I was before, and it's not even, it doesn't even feel the same this time. When the first time I was homeless, I had the community of the camp. I kind of, we had the resources coming in every week, so I kind of had a heartbeat on the progress.
Yeah.
Now it's, I'm on my own, and essentially, it might be in the hotel room now, but I'm essentially you might as well just be in a tent in the middle of nowhere. Because I don't have anybody else coming to check on me. I don't have any resources, unless for the ones I know to reach for.
So when you were in the campsite, what campsite were you in? Is it still active?
Brookmead Park.
Okay, so you were in Brookmead Park. Yep. When you were there were at least a couple nonprofits that had regular presence there. You had people helping you work on things. And now that you've been in this hotel limbo, you said you have a case manager. Are they able to come out and see you?
So, I haven't, don't get me wrong, I love my caseworker. But, she's got a lot of different cases to work on.
Yeah.
She hasn't had a chance to come out to see me. Because I frankly just, I've been bouncing around so much, it's hard to tell her where I'm going to be.
Yeah.
It's just, I've reached out to the Office of Homeless Services, and I've even talked to the director, and she says that she's going to try to link me up with, with people that I can be linked up with, and it's just, everybody's hearts are in the right place, but the follow up is kind of the lacking point.
Yeah. What is your next step that you have to do? I
have an appointment on Monday to see my caseworker from CARES. So
you will go to Nashville CARES for that?
Yes, I'll go to Nashville CARES, get my paperwork and everything settled for Ryan White. I have a friend of mine who we're investigating the option of moving to possibly to Atrium Flats, we're getting working together to get a 2-bedroom. Since she works and I have my Social Security, there might be a way where we can maybe make that work.
Okay.
Hopefully. But I've been promised things by friends and stuff before, so we'll see how that shakes out. As knowledgeable as I am about the programs, because I serve on the board, I know all the backroom stuff. I don't know what my case manager did in order the first time to get me housed. I'm sure there's a lot of other things, a lot of other grants and other things that I may be eligible for that I just don't know to look for.
And like you said, when you were in a campsite with a lot of other people, the help was coming to you.
Yeah. Every week, the Colby's Army, Homeless Impact, now Homeless Services, Neighborhood Health, Mental Health Co-op, Salvation Army. Everybody was there every Tuesday, to bring us food, bring us, support, get us updates on our documents.
Mm-hmm.
Here, like, I just kind of, I kind of had to. I had to be more proactive.
Yeah.
And, I don't have, caseworkers from any other organization. It was as many organizations in Nashville that are serving the homeless. I'm really not, I may be connected to leadership, but I'm not connected to the boots on the ground.
Gosh, Jamie, it like, I hear you taking so much responsibility, and at the same time, like, I want someone beating down your door to come to you to help and give you the roadmap that you need right now.
Yeah. I'll admit that I've kind of been low key about about me being homeless.
Mm-hmm.
Leadership on the council knows and whatnot. Everybody who needed to know knows. But I really didn't want to advertise the fact that I've been homeless. I've been serving. I serve on the council. I'm looked up to by a lot of people in the homeless community, and it's one of those things where how do you go back and say, oh shoot, well now I'm back on the street. Even I couldn't keep myself keep myself from being chronically homeless. I don't know. I couldn't tell you how long it's going to be, but I'll tell you this. It's exhausting keeping myself, afloat. It's hard, and I understand that with me, I may not be the perfect person. I may have some, problems with my personal spending that I maybe need to check in. But outside of that, it shouldn't be this exhausting.
So the end of your week is today at 5.
Correct.
How much of your next week?
So right now I'm about 2/3 of the way. I think about $80 short.
Okay.
So we'll see how it goes. I'm still. I got a lot of phone calls to make and text messages to send and a lot of prayers that I'm going to have to say.
What is going to be the key for you, or the keys for you in your next place, your next permanent place? What's going to be the key to make that work long term?
So, one is stabilizing my finances, which because of everything going on, I carry over $600 overdraft with Regions Bank every month, which does not help when trying to plan for my monthly expenses. Once I get finances stabilized, and it's just like. Just changing habits too. I shop Goodwill and eBay kind of my worst enemies here, because after losing so much, the first thing I wanted to do was try to reclaw as much as back as I could, and I just and knowing that I couldn't come anywhere close to that, but it's just trying to regain some sense of my normal life again. Which I at this point I kind of plateaued in what I want to get, and I'm realizing that that that's not sustainable either. If had I not maybe spent this and that on this, I might have had maybe an easier time getting the room.
Yeah.
I have a hard time with managing that. As part of being bipolar is like, you have that little monkey on your shoulder saying, "Oh, you can get it now. You can get it now."
Yeah. Well, these services are designed to make us feel like that, right? Like anything is available, and that dopamine hit from feeling like I'm at least fixing this part of my life. Even if I can't fix the big picture in this moment, you know what I can do? I can fix this in this moment.
That's kind of like, you think about it, I think about it this way. Like, you smash a mirror.
Yeah.
And now you can't get the thing back in one piece, but let me put this corner back together. I see this piece fits over here, and we've got a little bit of duct tape and chewing gum and baling wire. We can put it back together. So at least we put some of it back together.
Yeah. Look, it looks pretty good, right? Well, no, not really, but at least I can kind of start making out the form of my face in some shattered way.
Yeah, I can begin to recognize myself a little bit here, but there's still pieces lost, and there are going to be some pieces that are just lost for good. And that's part of life. Is you gain things, you lose things. It's just if something was really meant to stay in your life for a while, it would find its way to remain there. I'm hoping that I eventually find myself in a permanent home. I've known people who have lived in hotels for years.
Yeah.
I just hope I can ever have a place of my own again.
Well, thank you, Jamie. I hope that too.
Thank you.
We need to take our first break. When we come back, 2 other women are joining me in the studio to educate us about what to do when homelessness becomes a cycle. Stay tuned. This is Nashville.
Funding for This is Nashville comes from you, our listeners, and Music City Prep Clinic, Nashville-based provider for PrEP and offering comprehensive sexual health services in an environment designed to be safe, professional, and shame-free. Learn more at musiccityprep.org.
In my place were lines I couldn't change, and I was lost.
I'm Tasha A.F. Lemley, and this is Nashville. Before the break, you came with me to an Antioch motel to meet Jamie Villegas and hear about her housing loss. And now, back in the WPLN studio, we have 2 women who have seen homelessness from very different vantage points. One through lived experience and one through building the systems meant to help. I'm here with Kenitha Patterson, a national peer advocate with lived experience, and Lizzie Goddard, a housing system strategist. All of our guests this hour are very involved in the continuum of care, which is a local system designed to prevent and end homelessness. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you. So,
Kenitha, you've experienced homelessness more than once. What resonated with you when you listened to Jamie's story?
Oh, everything. So just hearing Jamie's story, and I know Jamie's story by us being on the Homeless Planning Council together as board members, and also lived experience. Jamie's one of my executive committee members that's kind of on a sabbatical right now because of what's going on, and I wish there was more I can do, but the cycle of the system is preventing me from being able to do more that I would love to do from a peer advocate standpoint. But just hearing that, it lets me know the aftermath of being homeless. You have to know the systems exist, the money exists, but it never really reaches the people. And then just in the aftermath, how do you survive every bit of that, even down to knowing how to work a thermostat?
Yeah.
So those are things that people don't think about that peer advocates do, and we want to be in place to deal with situations like this because Jamie should never feel alone. Being a part of our community and being an executive leader of the continuum of care. So that's kind of a synopsis of how I feel. Jamie should never feel alone with community that she serves with and alongside.
Jamie is experiencing her second time homeless, and you've been there. Talk to us about what it feels like when you've worked so hard on housing and you're seeing it slip away again.
Yeah, it's terrifying, even down to the fact that recently we discovered that even unpacking is a frozen state of mind. You won't unpack because you're terrified it's going to happen again.
Right, right. Healing often isn't as linear as we'd like, and I imagine a relapse back into homelessness is really scary and demoralizing. Do you find successive periods of homelessness to be more intense? Or do you find that sometimes people have built skills and strength and contacts that are serving them so they can exit the cycle faster, a consecutive time?
I feel like it's less on the person and more on the access to the system. Because you could have those resources all day long, but just as an advocate, when I'm trying to plug people into the system, I never can really connect them.
Yeah.
And or it's exactly like Jamie said, you can have a caseworker, but are they overcapacitated? Do they have 98 people on their caseload? So they can't pay attention to everybody. So people are going to fall through the cracks naturally. So just thinking about that and how to improve that system where people are actually able to access those resources.
Lizzie, our systems are focused on moving people into permanent housing, and that means they're going to hold their own lease. Are our government resources and nonprofits doing enough to prevent housing loss once people are housed?
Short answer, I would say no. So much of the homelessness response system is emergency response. When we're asked about what are we doing around prevention, I really see it as what is our community and our society doing around prevention? Is it the responsibility of this homelessness response system to address that? Or is it that we need to think about, have wages kept up with the cost of living? Do we have sufficient physical housing? I think it's a broader conversation than just our nonprofit agencies in the homelessness system. And to be frank, we are not resourced to even do our own programs in the way that they should be done, let alone kind of go upstream and try and support people, identify them to prevent homelessness in the first place. So we end up in this kind of vicious cycle of we may house folks and we have just as many folks losing their housing. But I really see it as this wider community responsibility to really tackle that prevention piece.
When we talk about permanent supportive housing as a solution to homelessness, can you remind us what that is?
Sure. Permanent supportive housing pairs long-term affordable housing, and that could be site-based. So maybe that is a physical unit where the rent is subsidized, or it could be tenant-based. So maybe someone has a voucher that helps them afford rent within the community. But it is paired with long-term, consistent supportive services. And those are indefinite. There is no expiration. There is no step down. When it's done in the way that we know is effective, it is consistent. I hear Jamie's story, and, if for whatever reason, right, if the person who had helped support her into that housing transition had still been showing up, had still been able to know what had happened to her, I really think there could have been a different outcome to her story. Unfortunately, as a system, I think we have chronically underfunded the supportive services piece. And then we say, well, housing first or supportive housing doesn't work. It does. We just have only done half of it. And then we're surprised when it falls apart. And so, I think it's remembering that it is housing first. It's supportive housing. It is not housing only.
Kanitha, you're nodding enthusiastically. What do you got to say?
Oh, boy. Housing first. When you think about the definition that comes from HUD about homelessness, and it's like they say if you're couch surfing, that's not homeless. And we beg to differ because I experienced bullying in a home that I was couch surfing at. So that's something that's very underrated and not talked about.
Jamie is also not considered homeless under a HUD definition because she's paying for her motel room with friends' dollars. And so this gets really technical and pretty tricky. When you talk about we and us, who are you talking about?
All the people. I feel like it's a we, not me. Whenever I'm talking as a leader, it's always about the people for me. And from I call it underneath grassroots level, because we don't even have like the funding to be grassroots. So, but we still do the work. We figured out how to barter and trade with each other to the fact of, making it happen. One of the tenant leaders, he wants to start a benevolence fund for everybody. And he was telling how some of his art sold, and he gave it to a woman to make sure she didn't become homeless with a child. So it's things like that we want to do that are kind of hidden from, the mainstream, and really our voices unheard, literally.
Kanitha, you've been homeless 4 times, and each for different reasons, from gentrification to job injury. How can we learn from those different experiences about how fragile housing stability can be?
Yeah. For me, each time was a lesson through the system for me, to be able to see the blind spots and the gaps and barriers. I feel like the Lord actually blessed me kind of with that journey because of what I do. Crazy to say it's a blessing, but at the same time, of course, it feels like a curse. To be patient, my first time around, it was a lot of crying and not understanding what's going on until, unfortunately, with every instance, I started to learn more about the systems.
Mm. Lizzie, you created Metro's Low Barrier Housing Collective. What is that?
Yeah, it is our centralized landlord engagement initiative, now under the Office of Homeless Services. We stood that up because even when you have some of the puzzle pieces in place, say someone got a voucher, very often the experience of homelessness itself creates barriers to actually getting back into housing. For example, having an eviction on your record can make it incredibly difficult, even if you can show that you have financial means. And so we created that effort to really proactively educate and partner with property owners to really advocate for the folks we serve, to say, hey, there's context behind this, and ensuring that folks can actually access housing when they have those resources. I think often we're like, great, they got that voucher, like the work is done. And what we saw is it was still incredibly difficult to actually connect that resource to housing that met someone's needs.
Right.
And so it is really a partnership effort to, ensure folks have choice in their housing and can actually use the resources.
And a lot of time, landlords can end up being the default bad guy, but landlords have a job and they have to get their rent no matter what life throws at their tenants. Bringing in someone who has multiple evictions on their records can be a really real and time-consuming risk.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it goes back to supportive services, right? I think a lot of the work I do is helping understand the perspective of the different, of our tenants, of the property owner. And I think sometimes we expect our property partners to kind of step into the void of social services. And what I have found is, financial incentives aside, what is the best predictor on the strong partnerships and helping, folks retain their housing over time is having that supportive service partner in the mix. There's a lot of power dynamics, right? Am I going to go to the person who holds my housing and let them know I had a personal crisis? Should I have to do that? But when we have that support in place, you have a trusted partner who can be that liaison, right, to the property owner, only share the right amount of information, who's aware of the kind of matrix of resources.
And they don't feel alone either in that case.
Right.
What's it going to take to scale that type of work with service providers?
Yeah. I think we need significant investment, right? I don't know how to innovate our way out of not having the ability to have more services. And so I really look to other communities that I've worked with and that have inspired me, where they have seen this problem and said, hey, what we're getting through these national grants, it's not sufficient. And have really leveraged different, healthcare partners, philanthropic partners, and set up these very flexible, like service tools to say, if someone gets this mainstream voucher, we're going to make sure that we can connect someone to services. There's certain resources in our system to where once you're housed, the services disappear.
Yeah.
And then you're starting over once again. So I think it's really kind of infusing additional resources, bolstering. We have really strong partners here in Nashville that if they had more, finances to work with, we would scale those teams, right? I don't doubt our personal commitment and the skill of our providers on the ground, but we are at capacity with the resources we have.
Especially with federal funding cuts around permanent supportive housing, what are some of both of your biggest fears if we don't get more of a handle to keep people stably housed?
We have so many folks that we haven't been able to house yet at all that are still in active crisis. And I feel like I'm kind of staring down this tsunami wave of, folks being re-traumatized and losing their housing yet again. And just logistically, right? Like if we don't have enough resources to serve folks in our current capacity, how in the world are we supposed to ever make a dent or in homelessness when we're taking away resources that have stabilized people? So I have a real fear of kind of system overwhelm and also this shift towards kind of out of sight, out of mind, not actually supporting people and ending homelessness, and resources getting diverted to this kind of, visibility campaign makes me pretty nervous.
So we've kind of taken matters into our own hands quite some time ago, where we started to think of ways to be self-sustainable on our own so that we don't have to go ask anybody. Because we're already being withheld from federal money. So we're kind of already going through the thing that they're afraid is going to happen. Kind of hearing about that doesn't scare us because we've been living it.
Well, we need to take one last short break and then continue our conversation with Lizzie and Kenitha. This is Nashville.
Funding for This is Nashville comes from you, our listeners, and Music City Prep Clinic, Nashville-based provider for PrEP and offering comprehensive sexual health services in an environment designed to be safe, professional, and shame-free. Learn more at musiccityprep.org.
I was scared, tired and underprepared, but I'll wait. And if you go, and leave me out here on my own, I'll wait for you.
I'm Tasha A.F. Lemley, and this is Nashville. This is episode 9 of season 2 of our special series, In My Place. We're here with Kenitha Patterson, a national peer advocate with lived experience, and Lizzie Goddard, a housing system strategist. Before the break, we spoke about the impact of housing loss after people have spent months working through the homelessness response system. If listeners remember Ashley and Kelly from our last episode, they went from a campsite to an apartment that wasn't income-based and not subsidized. So they're like paying standard rates. And they did that because understandably they wanted to go with the quickest option. And then Kelly lost his job and their housing is really at risk again. He's also holding on to his campsite just in case. So that's kind of like the not unpacking boxes you were talking about in our last segment, Kenitha. Lizzie, how do you balance that need for choice with the urgency of getting someone indoors fast?
Oh, it's a lot. I think back, I was a housing navigator, earlier in my career. And I think I have to check myself internally of, am I imposing a sense of urgency or am I listening to my client? And I think there's this, kind of problem-solving conversation of, what do you need to thrive? And would it actually make sense to spend another month working through this so that someone has an option that truly meets their needs?
Because we might be talking about a $1,600 one-bedroom apartment.
Yep.
As opposed to what?
If someone was connected to, say, a subsidy, that would make it to where whatever they're paying based on their income would be no more than 30%.
What are some of those numbers you see that someone might pay in rent
For example, say someone is working full-time, a minimum wage in Tennessee, you would be able to afford a little less than $400 a month in housing costs. Okay. So without that subsidy, right, where are you going to go to rent for $400 a month, right? We can't create affordable housing out of nowhere. That's why housing has to be a solution within our system. And at the same time, we can't fall into that, whatever happens to be available, that scarcity, because then I don't think we're setting people up for success.
And at the same time, we want people to have many of the same choices that you and I might have. Yeah. Why is choice so important when it comes to stability?
I mean, I ask people all the time of, would you want someone to pick your housing out? Right? Yeah. Like, would you want someone?
Or the part of town?
Are there stairs? Are there not? Is there a playground? You have kids? All the things that we think about when we pick our own housing out. And I think, too, when we have taken someone's agency away, right? Like, there's just so many ramifications of that. And I think it just comes back to the importance of, am I doing this to someone or am I doing this with someone? Mm-hmm. It has to be collaborative.
Kenitha, did you feel like you have enough choices when you were trying to find housing?
Not at all. When we were in the hotel, we were instructed by our caseworker that we would have two choices. And then if we did not select one of the two, you had to start finding it on your own. And I had anxiety about just, okay, am I going to find anything if the ball is tossed to me? And why am I losing this help when I'm still here in the hotel under their care? It just was disheartening to even hear. And what are my two choices going to be that I get randomly? It's kind of like a lottery of where you're going to live with. And I have a large family, so at the time, my children were separated from us. We've never had to split up as a family. Even one of my children were in another county. But it just took away the freedom of choice of where am I going to live. We ended up landing in some apartments that I felt like I couldn't get out of for quite some time.
Was that one of your two choices?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and I picked it pretty quick because I didn't want that opportunity to go out of the window.
It's like what Lizzie's saying. It's like when it's like this may fade away, I'll grab for something that I might not want.
Yeah, and we stayed there kind of forcefully over 3 years. I just recently moved, had not unpacked until kind of when I came back from the retreat I was just on and found out that was even a thing of, you freeze and don't unpack.
You're a leader and you learned at a retreat, hey, I'm doing something that's showing that I'm not ready to move on.
Yes. Like a complex PTSD is what I think about it as, and had no clue that was a thing until you get around, just like Jamie said, out of isolation as a leader. Because as a leader in this space, you're often alone and having to advocate on your own. And then think about having to advocate for other people while you're advocating for yourself and your family. So it's just compounded in so much that we literally spiritually don't unpack and physically don't unpack.
Lizzie, as a consultant, how do you make sure the clients you're working with are listening to people like Kenitha with lived experience, like really listening, and that inclusion is not just a token gesture of participation?
What I often try to reflect back to my clients and to myself often is, am I bringing my finished product for someone to be like, amazing,
sign off on?
Yeah. Or am I including someone from the very beginning of, am I even asking the right question? Am I asking the right question? And I think just the way our funding flows and our systems are set up, it is so, we have so many narrow categories. And we're under a lot of pressure to prove, hey, this is working, so don't take our funding away, right? That people speed up. They don't want to slow down and listen. And I think I'm always looking for, are we willing to be wrong about our assumptions from the beginning? Is this actually what folks need.
What does it look like when the system listens to people with lived experience, Kenitha?
I automatically know the answer to that. It looks like healing when they actually listen to us. And instead of that power struggle of we're leaders, because I have a dual role. I'm a voucher holder and I'm also a leader to the capacity of kind of, they look at me in the in-between where we don't want to listen to her because of whatever the fact may be. But we bring so many solutions that are not even at the surface, because first we have to protect our ideas because we've witnessed our ideas be heard and taken too. It's just that, like you said, tokenism of we hear the idea, we do not want to credit you for it, and at the same time, this is a great idea. So it's just like kind of, I don't know what to even call that, but we're the core, and none of this system would even exist without us going through the thing of homelessness. So who better to hear of the solutions to get out of it, or what we went through and the barriers we experienced, so that we could close those holes up.
So am I hearing you right, that it's like you partially feel like you're not being, you have time to talk, but you're not really being listened to. Mm-hmm. Partially, maybe some of your ideas are being dismissed at the time, but then used and not being given credit for?
Correct. We see it all the time where solutions will come along. We're like, we said that months ago, or we'll offer up something and we could have been ahead of the curve because we said it way back when.
So we're nearing the end of season 2 of In My Place, and we could have an entire season focused on prevention. Do you have any last minute words for people who struggle to pay their rent and don't know where to turn? Lizzie, I'll start with you.
Yeah, we do have resources, and I think they were mentioned on the last episode, but places like NeedLink and Metro Action Committee, Rooftop. I just want to hold space and acknowledge for folks that may be listening of it is hard and it's complicated to access those resources. And I think something I would like to see from a systems change perspective is that we're really working towards true access and bringing resources to people. But there are resources out there. And, you know, I think, unfortunately, we put it on people to have to navigate that. But, you know, being able to look for those and try to connect wherever possible.
Kenitha, give us some peer support. What do you got to say to people out there like Jamie who have done it once, they're doing it again, and it's not okay?
Yeah. I want to offer all positive love and vibes out to Jamie. Jamie knows to hit my line anytime and really always in my prayers. But exactly to what she said, being lonely out there. And this totally looks different from what happened with Brookmead, where you actually had community. And people don't know encampments are community, and when you rip them apart, they are missing their family. And I'd echo Miss Lizzie on access points being everywhere. Medical respite is a huge thing, and people don't know they have to get a note from the doctor to try to get some of those services. So I just wish it was more like the Glencliff Village.
Yeah.
More of those and less NIMBYism along with it, because those people deserve to heal and be housed and get into permanent housing thereafter. So just being able to connect all the dots and have better access points across all of Davidson County.
So thank you, Kenitha Patterson and Lizzie Goddard.
Thank you so much.
And I also want to thank Jamie Villegas for our first segment, and thank you for listening. This is Nashville is a production of Nashville Public Radio. This housing series, In My Place, was created thanks in part to support from the Community Foundation of Middle Tennessee. Next month is our last episode of this season. And actually, really, this one was supposed to be the last episode, but we realized we really needed to hear from people impacted by homelessness who likely hadn't been homeless themselves. Family of unhoused folks. Where are they? That's our next and final episode of In My Place. Our cover of In My Place by Coldplay is courtesy of Vein Melter. And today's episode was produced and directed by Judith Tackett. On the board today is Mary Mancini. Listen back at thisisnashville.org or wherever you get your podcasts. And this week is our Fall Fund Drive. This project is for you. So if you like what we're doing, WPLN.org. I'm Tasha A.F. Limley, and this is Nashville. We love you. Keep going, you guys.